Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GSS Core. This is Ajay Shah. So today in the series of pathways, we have All India rank 591. That is Mr. Abhilash Baddur, who is from Karnataka, who has already qualified UPSC in 2017. He is a serving officer in Indian Postal Services, and today he is with us to share his success journey. And the emphasis of the session will be anthropology as an optional. So Abhilash, first of all, many congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
So Vilash, what's your success journey despite of qualifying UPSC once? You have again given UPSC, and this time probably you will get a very good post. And what was your strategy in UPSC, Vilash?
Sir, first of all, I'd like to correct a bit. I'm not in the Indian Postal Service. I'm in the Postal and Telecom Accounts and Finance Service. This is one of the account services, just like the Indian Railways account service. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I would say my strategy was basically I'll just like to give a brief background. I started my civil service journey from 2016. I qualified. I was in the TCS in 2015 when I graduated from mechanical engineering. I thought I'll give civil services. It was in the back of my mind from a long time. So in 2016 I quit the TCS and then I started my preparation. So in the initial attempt, I went till interview, but I could not make it to the final list. What I learned from that attempt was that my answer writing practice was lacking, and I had not given much of a thought to the revision process. So I had completed all the syllabus which was there, but I did not revise it. I did not give time for writing because I thought this should be sufficient, and I had not made notes as well for the many of the important topics which I thought would be helpful. So in my second attempt, I worked on all these issues, and even before prelims, I had started writing answers. Every day I used to write nearly around 5 questions. This I had made as an important aspect of my preparation. So we had formed a small group of people, 3 to 4 people who were also preparing, and we used to self-evaluate our answers, and this helped me a lot. My mains marks suddenly got a drastic increase of about, I'd say, around 80 marks. So I would say in my first attempt, I got GS2 around 74 marks, and in my next attempt, I got near 116 marks. So I could say that this was one of the major reasons why I was able to qualify and I was not able to qualify in the previous attempt.
Okay, so Abhilash, leaving a job in TCS, that would have been a little difficult decision. So how could you convince yourself that you should now take a risk for UPSC?
Yes, sir, absolutely. It was not just about convincing myself, it was about convincing my parents as well. Because I come from a very financially humble background, and we are middle class people, so financial support was very much important, and it was coming from my family. So first of all, I had to convince my family, and they had belief in my abilities. So when they gave me that necessary support and they said me, whatever you want to do, we will support you. So that was a big push for me. And after that, I thought that I wanted to do something different. I don't want to be in the TCS and the normal routine which I had started developing. Didn't want to settle basically, and I wanted to do something better. I had this in my father also is a government servant, so I had seen him meeting with officers. I had gone with him what kind of work they do, so it inspired me. So even I thought that okay, this is my time and I have to take the risk, and if not, it's fine. But this is what I want to do, and that's why I came into the civil service field, and I do not regret that decision now.
Okay, so Vilash, your point of advice is that the working professional, if they are confident enough, then they should take this calculated risk. That's quite
yes.
Fine. Abhilash, we would like to know something about your optional subject. First of all, you are from engineering background, then you worked in the IT sector. So why anthropology was your choice? What was the factors?
First of all, I was very good in mechanical engineering as well, but what I thought was like the guidance available for mechanical engineering was not that much, and there was no senior of mine or any other people who I knew had taken mechanical engineering. So I thought that I'll take some other optional subject which would be interesting as well, and which should not be like too technical. So I thought I started seeing the number of options which are there, and I then narrowed it down to 2, 3 optional subjects. Initially, I had thought of taking history and anthropology. I had interest in history as well, but then I felt that anthropology is much more diverse, and it was after reading a few chapters from one of the textbooks, I felt that it is much more diverse and it's much more interesting than history. It is not unidimensional. there are a number of branches in anthropology, like for example, like there is physical anthropology, socio-cultural anthropology, there is linguistic anthropology, there is applied physical anthropology, and you will get in the paper to the tribal aspects of anthropology as well. So I felt that this much more interesting, and this will be helpful in other GS subjects as well. So that was one of the reasons why I chose anthropology.
Okay, so Abhilash, how could one can decide that he is having a genuine interest in the anthropology subject? Is there any sort of textbook in NCERT by reading which we can decide that yes, I'm having a deep and genuine interest in the optional, this anthropology?
Uh, I would say, like, if you go through the syllabus of the anthropology, I think you'll have a fair idea regarding, like, for example, there are some concepts in socio-cultural anthropology. For example, there is family, there is marriage, and if you go through one or two chapters among them, then you'll feel that these are much more generalistic in nature. And if you work little hard, if you give some value additions to these, then it'll be very easier to answer. You'll be not like mugging up as well, because these are all general subjects which happens in day-to-day life, so you can connect with that easily. So that's why I thought that I will take up this option.
Okay, Abhilash, can you just explain in very brief about this optional, the framework, a little deeper into the syllabus of this optional?
You will basically have two papers. In paper one, it is basically physical anthropology. I would say around 50% of the subject is related to physical anthropology, and the rest around 20-30% is related to application of this physical anthropology. It can be divided into, and the rest of the part is related to socio-cultural anthropology, and there is anthropological theories. So the physical anthropology part, which plays a major role in paper one, is much more static, because there is not much development that has taken place in anthropology with respect to India and also with respect to the world. So here, if you read some of the standard textbooks and if you make some value additions, this can be very, very scoring paper. In physical anthropology, you will have topics like what is anthropology and some of the human forms or extinct human forms, and then you'll study about how the physical anthropology has progressed, and human genetics you will be studying. In coming to social anthropology, you will be studying concepts like marriage, family, kinship, and there is political anthropology as well. Coming to anthropological theories, you will study here classical anthropology, neoclassical anthropology, and psychological anthropology. So these kind of concepts you will be studying. It will give a background about what exactly anthropology is, and also various anthropologists who have contributed to the development of anthropology over the years. And the last part will be applied physical anthropology. Here, basically, the concepts of anthropology are applied in day-to-day lives. For example, paternity diagnosis, how anthropology is helpful in that. Kinanthropology, this is basically study of sports. So how anthropology is helping shape sports in the world arena. So these kind of concepts you'll be studying in paper one. Coming to paper two, this can mainly be divided into history of Indian anthropology, how it has developed, what are the concepts in Indian anthropology, what are the various findings which have been done in India, and who are the Indian anthropologists who have helped in develop anthropology in the country. Also, in later part, around 60%, I would say, is related to tribal India. We will study about who are the various tribes which are residing in various parts of the country. You will also get to know about their development, what are the issues regarding tribes, what are the constitutional protection which have been given to Indian tribes. And on the later part, you will also be studying about how NGOs are helping in development of the country, and the development of the tribes, and in the development of the nation. So these are some of the breakdown of anthropology.
Abhilash, can you just quote some examples in which we can apply anthropology now on any of the contemporary issues of our country?
There is one concept called action anthropology, where basically you will do is field work. You will go to an anthropologist, or even an administrator will go to a village, and he will study what are the socio-cultural contexts or concepts which are existing in that village, and then he will use it to promote various government programs or schemes. For example, some of the tribes will not be willing to cooperate with the government in for various government schemes. So how to change their mindset, or how to it's not like displacing them from one region to another region and then forcing them to adopt, but instead making them a part of the government initiatives, and then taking them along. So these kind of concepts can be applied there.
Okay, Avilash, is there any influence of current affairs on this option, anthropology, like other option in which we have?
Yes, yes. In both paper one as well as paper two, you can apply the current affairs. Basically, in paper one, you can do value additions in various areas. For example, I could say I had used this, I had read an article on Sherpas, which had come in around 2016, and I had made a note of it. So, what it had mentioned is that there is a specific gene called EPAS1, which exists in Sherpas, and because of that, their capacity to sustain at higher altitudes is very high compared to other human beings. So this had helped them to stay at the very higher altitudes, and therefore they are also acting as guides for various tourists and those who want to do a climb like Mount Everest and all. So these concepts can be applied in human genetics. For example, there is often a question related to human adaptation to higher altitudes or hot conditions or deserts, or such kind of questions are basically asked in paper one. So if we are well versed with some such current affairs concepts, then basically we can use it, and I think it will fetch more marks. I had used a lot of case studies and examples of such kind, because of which I feel that in my first attempt I had got around 316 marks in anthropology, and even in my 2017 attempt I had got 304 marks. So what difference I used to make is I used to add more of these kind of examples in my answers, because most of the people usually study the same, we all study the same material, but if we can add these kind of concepts, and I feel it will enhance our answers.
Vilas, you just mentioned about value addition of the notes. So is there any specific source for this by which we can go for value addition in anthropology?
I did not find any specific area or specific notes for this as such. When I was doing my preparation for this anthropology for around second or third time, I started adding some value additions. Then what I used to do is, like, I used to just Google up the concept name which is there, and I should look for articles or news articles which have been published on this. So based on that, I used to read and I used to make a note of that, and in such a way, like around 20 to 30 concepts, I had made some value addition notes, and this helped me in my answers.
Okay, so after reading substantial portion of this anthropology, we
Yes.
can just go for self-innovation and adding something on our own by our broad understanding, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Avilash, is there any linkage between this genetics, biology with this anthropology?
Yes, a big part of biology will play a larger part in physical anthropology, that is in paper one. So knowing, even you don't have to have a bio background in order to understand these concepts, because these are very simple concepts. Even I don't have a bio background. Even in my 12th standard, I was a computer science student, so I never had this the technical background which is needed for physical anthropology. So these are general subjects. For example, there is a human extinct form like Australopithecine. Like, what are the basic forms? Where is it found? We have to give a diverse answer. It should not be just focused on the biological part. That's it. Even though it belongs to the physical anthropology part, we have to include every area, for example, we say that anthropology is a holistic subject because it covers each and every area or every sphere of human beings. So in the same way, even if the question is related to physical anthropology part, we have to try and give diverse views for that question. So I feel that will fetch more marks rather than just being unidimensional and trying to answer it from biological part. So I would say we don't need a bio background as such, but if we have a bio background, it will be much more useful, and we'll be much more able to grasp the concepts better, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Avinash, one of the deterrence factor behind this option is that people think that we have to mug up a lot of facts and data in this subject. Is it true?
I wouldn't say we have to mug up a lot of facts and data, because I feel this subject is much more about understanding rather than mugging up things. A lot of concepts are day-to-day concepts, and it can be understood just by studying once or twice, and the rest is all about application part and case studies and examples. These kinds of examples, even if you can try and relate to the subject, I feel you'll be able to remember better rather than just mugging up things and trying to reproduce it in the answers.
Avilash, what is this case studies in the paper? Can you just explain with some example?
Case study in the sense like, for example, Jarwa tribes. You can consider Jarwa tribes. There is a lot of study which has been done on them, and the one article had come in which it mentioned that one of the road which is being done in Andaman and Nicobar Islands was displacing them, and it is leading to reduction of their whatever social cultural background they had, and it also the outsiders are trying to have an negative influence on them. Such kind of article had been published. So these kind of case studies can be taken up, and these can be reproduced in questions where they ask about how development is having a negative effect on tribals. It may not be just negative as well. There are many positive case studies as well. So we need to have a balance. So whatever you find about tribes, you can just make a note of it. During my preparation, I had come across this Yojana magazine where it was specifically concerned with tribes. So a lot of case studies I had got from that edition as well.
Okay. I will ask, so someone who is not from anthro background like you, how much time is required to complete the entire syllabus if we devote, say, 6 to 7 hours a day?
I would say around 5 to 6 months is necessary for finishing the whole syllabus as well as making notes. So if you just want to read and try to understand it, I think 3 months would be sufficient for this. And if you want, I would suggest you make notes as well, because it will be better to revise in the future and concentrate on answer writing part, which I feel is much more important. So overall, if you're considering around 5 to 6 months, I feel is necessary for anthropology.
Okay. Can it be covered without the help of any teacher, or the help of teacher is something mandatory in this subject?
I would say help of teacher is not mandatory as such, because you can just read the concepts and you can understand. But if you feel that you need a teacher, and if you need someone to guide you to what to read, what not to read, and how to go about it, then it is your own choice, I would say.
Okay. Abhilash, you have also given the attempt of 2017 and also 2019, right?
Yes.
So suppose one has completed the syllabus of anthro, and in his subsequent attempt, again, he is going for anthro. Then how much effort is required in this value addition?
Yes. I would say it will be very. I would say around 1 to 2 months will be sufficient for making value additions as well as including new case studies and examples. I would say in the subsequent attempts, more importance should be given to answer writing and perfecting those answers rather than making new notes or going for new books or new textbooks or as such, adding new material.
Okay. Abhilash, in every answer we have two components. First is knowledge, content, and then we have the style of writing. So what is the proportion of content and style of writing in this anthropology?
I feel this content is very much essential, even if your handwriting is not that legible also, but if you have the right content and if you're putting it in the right way, I feel it will fetch good marks, because I write very fast and I feel that I'm not that legible. But I feel because of the case studies, examples, and the way I present the answers, I feel it is fetching more marks. That's what I felt. So knowledge definitely plays a very big part, and your answer writing also has to be in such a way that you are providing a lot of points and a lot of diverse views rather than just sticking to the one point in your answer.
Okay. What is the role of notes making in this subject?
Sorry, sir, I could not hear you.
Notes making, the role of notes making.
Yes, notes making is very much essential. I would say even in my first reading itself, I started making notes of concepts which I felt are very easy. So in the later attempt, you don't have to go back to the textbooks and start reading them once again. So if you make notes once and then you can concise it again for the revision part, then I think it will be very helpful for you to revise it during the mains.
Okay. Abhilash, since there is very much overlapping with the biology and this genetics also, so do we have some questions in this anthro in which we can get full marks?
I think so, yes, because a lot of concepts are theoretical in nature and they do not vary. So, for example, in socio-cultural anthropological part, the views may change. So you might have one view and the invigilator might have another view, but in physical anthropology part, the answer is fixed and you have to write what is being asked. So I feel that you will be able to fetch much more marks. Even when I was attempting questions in mains, I used to prefer picking physical anthropology part questions more than the social cultural anthropology, because I felt I was much more comfortable, and I believe that it would fetch more marks, because you can even add diagrams as well to most of the physical anthropology part, which I feel lacks in socio-cultural and which is much more theoretical in nature.
How much is the role of diagrams in all in this subject? diagrams.
Yes. In a lot of questions, you can use diagrams. Basically, in paper one, you can do a lot of diagrams. For example, if they ask you human forms, then you can make a diagram of a skull, or a hand, or fingers, or you can show a lot of things using diagrams, and it will be much more beneficial. And even in paper two, you can make a lot of flow charts regarding various concepts, and you can show them in a much more better manner and a much more concise manner than just writing everything. So I feel in anthropology, diagrams play a much will have a positive effect on your answers.
How much this optional play a role in the other parts of GS?
I would say in essay, in GS2, as well as in ethics, you can use some concepts from anthropology. Basically, tribal part you will be covering in paper 2. So in GS2, you'll not have to spend much time. Even in GS1, you'll not have to spend much time on tribes and their issues and constitutional protection. So these kind of issues can be left out while studying GS, and you can concentrate on other concepts. And even in essays, since you will be touching most of the socio-cultural aspects, so if you can attempt socio-cultural essays, then it will be you can have a better edge, and you will have a better edge, and you can use more concepts from whatever you have studied from anthropology in producing a better essay.
Okay, Abhilash, do you have a lot of scholars, thinkers, and debate among the scholars like we see in political science and sociology?
Yes, basically in anthropological theories, you will come across a lot of anthropologists who have given their views on anthropology. There is armchair anthropologists who have not been into the field and they have not gone to the field to study various tribes. And there are anthropologists who prefer field work. For example, Malinowski, who he was there with the tribes for about a year and more than a year, and he studied each and every concept of those tribes and tried to become one among them. So this is one view, and there are another view where anthropologists don't prefer to go into the field and study various tribes. So such kind of debates and such kinds of concepts you will find in anthropology. Yes.
Abhilash, can you please suggest some of the books which are must in this subject?
Yes. For physical anthropology part, I would suggest a book by P. Nath, which I felt was very helpful in my study. And Ember and Ember is another book where you will find a lot of concepts regarding socio-cultural concepts and theories as well. And Anthropological Thought is a book by Upadhyay. There also you have to do selective study basically, because these are huge books and you will not be able to cover each and every concept. So as per your need, and you have to do a selective read, and then you have to take what information you need into your notes and incorporate it. For paper 2, I would suggest books by Nadeem Hasnain. There are 2 books written by him. One is Tribal India and another is Indian Anthropology. So both these books, a lot of data needs to be updated in these books. So I would suggest that once you do a reading of these books, you can go online and you can dig up some data which is much more relevant for today. Yes.
Abhilash, is there any book in the market for this to build such only the basic foundation? For example, we can compare this with the NCERTs.
I'm not aware of any such book because I studied these textbooks which I earlier mentioned, but there are lots of notes available from various institutes, so you can go through them.
Okay, so students can directly jump to these standard books only, right?
Yes.
Okay, Abhilash, tell me one thing, how much the people will get the help from the past year's paper and how to get maximum from the past year papers?
Yes. Anthropology is one such optional where past year papers will be very helpful, because in paper 1, as I said, the number of questions which are being asked are very limited because a lot of development has not happened, as we see in other options like geography, which are much more dynamic in nature. So anthropology, I would say, is much more static. So this is one advantage, and if you go through the previous year's question papers, a lot of concepts are asked again and again. So I would suggest that one should go through at least past 7 to 8 years previous year's questions, and you will get an idea that what kind of questions are asked and how you can go about it.
Okay. Abhilash, there are many students who have very deep interest in the culture of tribes or in the human history. Are they the ideal candidates for this anthro?
Yes, I think any candidate will be able to take up anthropology and can produce good answers in it, because I feel that one just have to have an interest in the subject, and if they're interested in cultural issues and social issues, I feel they'll be able to produce better answers, because they'll not have to put much effort into understanding, since they are already interested in these subjects, and they will look for other issues as well, which will be helpful for them to write better answers compared to others.
Okay. Any specific strategy for answer writing? How to approach the answers in this subject?
Specific strategy, I would say that always try to mention anthropologists if you know who have done some research on the subject. Also include a lot of examples in your answers. Then diagrams if possible, and if you can't draw diagrams, if the question does not need diagram, then go for a flow chart. Try to put it in a much more better manner, and which easily the invigilator will be able to see and understand that okay, you know the concept. Also provided diverse answers. For example, if you are asked about, if you are asked to write about some form of human, earlier human, then go for like geography, what tools they used, what is their culture, how they have developed, what is the phylogeny. So these kind of various different diverse answers I think will fetch more marks in anthro.
Abhilash, thank you very much. So would you like to say anything, your last words to the students of anthro?
I would say in this subject, it's all about revision and answer writing. Once you are done with studying and once you are done about finishing all the concepts, I would say practice as much as possible, revise as much as possible, and also condense your notes as much as possible so that now the UPSC is giving around 5 to 6 days time before the optional examination. So try and make your notes as such that you'll be able to finish at least glancing through the concepts within 2 to 2.5 days, so that you will have a better mindset, you'll be confident just before the exams, and you can answer in a much more better manner.
Okay. Yeah. The last question to you, since you have qualified UPSC 2 times with a gap of 1 year, how to be consistent in this examination?
Consistent, I would say one is just don't distract yourself. Try to concentrate on the goal that you have, why you wanted to be civil service. That is very important. I feel that if you have a good why, then I think you'll be grounded and you'll be focused on your aim, whatever it is.
So Abhilash, thank you very much for joining us, and from the entire team of GS Score, we wish you very best for the future, and we wish you get everything that you aspire in your life.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on GS Score, and thank you for that.